Hi you guys, it's Nikia and I am here with Miss Kaylee. I'm giving her a bottle right now, but I started to do this video like twice already, but for whatever reason it wasn't uploading. So I'll do it again. It's getting really frustrating, but this is gonna be my labor and delivery video. So um, Kaylee was born July the 7th, which is, it fell on a Thursday, July the 7th at 10:49 a.m. and she weighed 7 pounds 7 ounces. She was 20 inches long. So, my due date was July the 4th, which fell on Monday, and as that day came, I had no signs of labor whatsoever. My water was intact. I wasn't having contractions, nothing, like no contractions at all. So Tuesday I went in for my appointment for fetal testing and everything was good with her. By that time my feet had swollen so much to the point where it was really painful for me to walk. So they sent me to labor and delivery from fetal monitoring because they said that amount of swelling wasn't normal. They tested me for toxemia, preeclampsia, and everything from A to Z, and everything came back negative. Like, there was nothing wrong with me. So they went ahead and, was going to send me home, but I was able to convince my doctor for me to get induced on Thursday. So, we had a scheduled induction for Thursday at 9 a.m., but I ended up going into labor on my own on Wednesday. So Wednesday, July the 6th, I woke up and I lost my mucus plug. I thought that I had missed my mucus plug because I was so far along in my pregnancy and I hadn't seen it. So I thought I missed it, but apparently I didn't. So I used the bathroom and I pulled down and I saw like the discharge in my boxer shorts. And then I wiped, and on the toilet paper, mucus was there as well. And it was like a tinge of red blood. So I knew it was mucus. That made me really happy. Now I knew that if you lose your mucus plug, you can either go into labor that same day, or you can lose your mucus plug and still not go into labor for weeks. So I was still going to go to my induction. I still was going to get induced and, go through with that. But so during the day I just started walking a lot with my mom, went out shopping, and I was getting really bad cramps that felt like period cramps throughout the day, and they were strong. I just thought that they were like cramping because I had lost my mucus plug, but apparently they were contractions. So that evening I was sitting on the couch and I had, my sister, as I said before, is an RN. So I asked her, hey, and she has 3 kids. So I asked her, hey, what do contractions feel like? I'm having these constant period-like cramps, and I'm not sure what they are. Could they be contractions? And she said, yeah, they are contractions. And whoa, mamas. She said, yeah, they are contractions. So I was having contractions, and they were coming about 8 to 10 minutes apart at that point. They were like 8 to 10 minutes apart at that point, and they weren't too bad. I was like laughing through them and talking through them, so that's how I knew they weren't that bad. Yeah, so I was laughing through them and talking through them, so that's how I knew they weren't that bad. They were starting to get more stronger. They were starting to get more stronger as the day went on. So I just kind of sat down and bounced on my yoga ball. Why did I do that? I have no idea, because they were way more painful once I bounced on my yoga ball. They were super painful. So I got up and then I got in the tub. Really hot water. I didn't put any soap or bubble bath or anything like that in it this time. I just put hot water in there. So I got in the tub and it kind of made the intensity of them not so high, because they weren't as bad, but they were still coming like 5 to 6 minutes apart at this point. And this time it's like around 6:30 or something like that. So they were coming between 5 and 6 minutes apart. So I stayed in the tub for about 30 to 45 minutes, and then once I got out, they were even stronger, so much stronger. So I got out the tub, and I just kind of sat around the house, and at this point it was hard for me to talk and breathe through contractions. This is how I knew I was in real labor. Excuse me. This is how I knew I was in real labor, because when I would have Braxton Hicks contractions, only my stomach would get tight. And that's it, just my stomach. But my stomach was not affected by this at all. Everything I felt was in my pelvis. Everything I felt was in my pelvis. So I excuse me. Everything I felt was in my pelvis. So they were like period cramps again. Literally, I couldn't believe people say. I couldn't believe when people told me they would be like menstrual period cramps. But seriously, guys, that's seriously what they felt like. Really, really bad cramps times 100. So I started to go outside and walk with my sisters. We walked probably for like 10-15 minutes. They were becoming really, 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 really unbearable. So I came back home and I was like, okay, this is it. This is the real deal. I'm in labor. So Kenny had just left my house and was going to work out. And where he was from my house, probably like a 20-minute drive. So by this time it's like 9 or something, and I text him, and I text him and say, baby, it's time. Like, it's time. So I'm on the couch, and time goes on, and I'm trying to wait to go to the hospital because I don't want to go and get sent home and only be dilated to 2 or 3 and then get sent home. Because mind you, I was 1.5, 2 centimeters, and it was nothing. So I'm having these contractions, and I feel like my life is ending and I'm dying. And so I'm trying to stall as much as I can, but then the pain becomes unbearable, and that's when I text Kenny. So I get all my stuff together. I decide to just grab my hospital bag and leave Kaylee's here. Someone else brought it to the hospital once she was delivered. My pillow, my blankie, all of that stuff I took with me. So Kenny gets here, and we're loading up the car. By this time I'm having contractions every 2 to 3 minutes, and they're lasting from anywhere between 45 to 58 seconds. So I have this contraction counter on my phone, on my iPhone, and that's what I was using to monitor how far apart my contractions were, and how long they were lasting for. And it came in handy, like, for you girls that are still pregnant and you guys have access to these kind of apps. I would strongly recommend downloading them because they seriously come in hand. So we get to the hospital, and by this time my contractions are coming still 2 to 3 minutes apart and lasting between 45 and 60 seconds long. And I get out of the car. Kenny comes over and opens the car. We're parking labor delivery. I open the door, and as soon as I step down, I feel that I have on black house shoes, and as soon as I step down, I feel this like this drip through, like a lot of fluid drip down my leg. And my first thought was, oh my gosh, my water broke. Perfect timing. We're here at the hospital. Mind you, I'm GBS positive, so I was trying to avoid my water breaking, but turns out it wasn't my water. It was the rest of my mucus plug. And I'm sorry, you guys. TMI alert. I looked down on my house shoe, my black house shoe, and there's this glop of mucus, like snot on it. Like, I had on loose fitting sweats. That's why it dripped straight through. How it got past my underwear, I have no idea, but ended up on my house shoe. So I'm having contractions. I'm having such a hard time walking to labor and delivery. Like, Kenny asked me if he wanted me to get a wheelchair, but I figured no, I need to walk, because the more I walk, the more I'll thin and dilate. So, make a long story short, we get up to labor and delivery. They hook me up to the monitor. Contractions are so strong, you guys. Like, I was one of the ones who said I was not gonna be like making noises. I was just gonna breathe through the contractions. But let me tell you, I was the first person to start hollering, like, oh, every time a contraction comes. Like, that's really what the urge that's really what you get the urge to say when you have contractions. Oh, and it like helped out a lot, I guess you would say. She's farting. It helped out a lot, I guess you would say. So with me breathing like that through the contractions, I guess it helped, but it was still very, very, very painful. So I'm hooked up to the monitor, you guys, and she has me just laying there for like a friggin' hour with no medicine, nothing, just laying there monitoring my contractions for like an hour. And it's annoying. It's so frustrating because I'm like, here I am in so much pain, and you just have me hooked up to a monitor. Like, you don't believe I'm contracting. I was like, I had an attitude. Like, I wasn't saying that to the nurse, but these are all the things I'm thinking. So anyway, she checked me, and my cervix, I was dilated to 3, and I was still at station -2, but I don't remember how thinned out my cervix was. So usually they don't keep people at 3. She would have sent me home or sent me walking or something. But I had a fever. This fever came out of nowhere. I was sitting here on my couch and I was freezing. It was burning up hot in the house, but I personally was freezing and I had the chills. So the fever came out of nowhere. So because I had a fever, they kept me. And the baby could be affected by fever and stuff like that. So they kept me. So we got the IV inserted, and let me tell you guys, I told you guys I was terrified of needles and IVs and things like that. I had them numb me first. So you guys that are still pregnant and getting ready to go into labor, don't believe the nurses when they tell you that they can't numb your arm before you get an IV. That needle is really long and really thick. And when they gave me a shot to numb the area before she put it in, it was like literally this size. The needle was like this size, and it didn't hurt. It was literally like a pinch. So I would advise you guys to, if you're like scared of the IV or needles, I would advise you to ask the nurses to numb the area first, before giving the IV. So they gave me the IV, and right away I'm like, when can I get an epidural? Mind you, I'm 3, and I can't deal. I'm already like, I can't deal with this. It's painful. My mom and my sister and Kenny and everyone is telling me, Kia, like, just try and stick it out. Your labor may be longer, and I'm like, I don't care. I can't do this. Give me the epidural. So the lady says I have to wait until I get to the delivery room, but that I can get the epidural right away. So we get to the delivery room, and by this time they've administered me my first dosage of antibiotics for the group B strep. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. GBS. Well, yeah, group B strep. So they administered me the first dosage of that, and then Kaylee's getting fussy, you guys. So I'll show her to you guys, and then I'm gonna put her down or finish feeding her. Say hi, Mamash. Say hi. Can you see? Look, Mamash. Look. Okay, So I believe I left off on me saying once I got to the delivery room, they had started my first dosage of antibiotics for the GBS. So the anesthesia, I'm still asking for the epidural. Mind you, I'm in so much pain and I can't take it. I have mad respect for you girls who went on natural to like at all, because I'm a chicken. As I told you guys before, I cry when I get paper cut, so my pain tolerance is 0. So I got there and the anesthesiologist was setting up to give me a epidural, a spinal tap, and he goes, "Wait a minute, you have a fever? Wait a minute, you're getting antibiotics?" I was like, "Yes." He was like, "Yes." I was like, "Why?" He was like, "Because I don't recommend you getting this epidural because it can create meningitis." I was like, "What?" Like at this point, I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, you don't recommend me get this because it? So you mean to tell me I have to deliver this baby without any pain medicine?" He's like, "No, that's not what I'm saying. I would recommend you either wait for." He's like, "You either wait for the antibiotics to wear off." He's like, "You either wait for the antibiotics to wear off, or you don't get it at all, or wait till your fever go down." I was like, "Fine, I'll wait till this antibiotic wear off." By the time he was, put all this stuff back together and getting ready to leave the room, the IV bag was empty for my antibiotics, and I was like, "Okay, I'm ready." It's a risk I'm willing to take, basically, because I'm not delivering this baby without any pain medicine. So they made everyone get out. Kenny could stay, but he couldn't sit on the side that I was getting the epidural because they said people usually are prone to faint. So they gave me the epidural and it hurted. I'm not even gonna lie, it hurted a little bit. It wasn't as painful as my contractions, but it was very uncomfortable and it did hurt. And when I saw how long the needle was, I almost passed out. The needle's like this long, no exaggeration, and it's really, really thin. So once I got that, I was like in heaven, you guys. Like, I didn't feel no contractions, I didn't feel anything. And when I did feel slightly a contraction, I pushed a button. I was pushing it so much, like I couldn't feel my legs at all. It's the weirdest feeling in the world. I couldn't feel my legs at all. So then, I'm just laboring, and then the doctor comes in and she checks me. And by this time, I was a 4 or 5. I was dilated between 4 and 5. So they broke my water. And once they broke my water, they let me go back to sleep, tell me I needed to rest because I'm going to need all my energy for pushing. By this time, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. So they broke my water, and I noticed on the contraction monitor that my contractions were coming like 1 minute apart, and they were lasting for like 2 minutes. I was like, oh, there's no way I would have been able to deal with this. It felt so good. I was just like relaxed. I didn't feel like I was high or drugged up. I just felt like I couldn't feel below my waist. That's just how I can describe it. I couldn't feel below my waist. So the morning comes and I still have a fever, and they're concerned because the baby's heart rate is way too high. I don't know exactly what it was, but by me having a fever, her heart rate was really, really high. It was going up and down, and they were in talks of giving me a C-section. They were saying basically, if her heart rate doesn't drop, they're going to watch me for an hour. If her heart rate doesn't drop, sorry, but you're going to have a C-section. So I love the nursing staff that I had. Not the night shift, because she was really, really mean and really rude. The day shift nurse that I got was an angel. She did everything she could. She knew I didn't want to have a C-section. I started crying like, oh my gosh, I don't want a C-section. That's like my biggest nightmare come true. Oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? Blah, blah, blah. So I try not to panic because I know that makes my blood pressure go up and the baby's heart rate can go high, even higher by me stressing. So I was just, relaxing. So what I did was took all the covers off of me. My nurse brought me like 3 ice packs and put them underneath my armpits and put them on my head and under my neck to basically cool my body temperature down. Mind you, I'm freezing. The air conditioner is on full blast, and I'm cold, like I have the chills, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get this baby's heart rate down because I didn't want to have a C-section. So, they monitored me for a couple hours, and it worked. My nurse came back and said that the doctor said everything was okay. The baby's heart rate is fine, and the fever's gone. Go to sleep and rest. So I'm, sleeping and things like that. And in the morning, time comes, it's like 8, and the nurse comes in and she's like, the baby's heart rate is high again. They're in talks of having a C-section still, because it's just too high. The doctor's gonna come in and check you right now, and we'll go from there. So I start panicking, like, oh gosh, what to do? Like, she brought me more ice, and her heart rate was still high. So when the doctor checked me, I was like between 8 and 9 centimeters, almost fully dilated. So the doctor said I could go ahead and start pushing, getting ready to push. So they were setting me up to go ahead and do a vaginal delivery, but they were going to be like on standby, I guess, in case I needed to have an emergency C-section. So the doctor came in and said that my cervix wasn't all the way thin, and he could do something with his hand. He was so sexy, by the way. Oh my gosh, he was hot. He was so cute. So he said he did something with his hand to make my cervix thin out. I don't know if he had a balloon or what it was, but he said he could, make it thin out all the way. So, we started doing some practice pushing. Mind you, I delivered at a hospital that only allows 2 people in the room, and it was supposed to be me, Kenny, my mom, and his mom. And it ended up being my mom, his grandma, my 2 sisters, his sister, and my brother. So 7 people ended up being able to be in the room when I delivered. It was the most amazing thing ever because, like, to be able to share that experience with them, it was amazing. And I was scared at first. Like, I don't want all these people in my room because I don't want them to see me. I just want my mom, his mom, and my 2 sisters. But at that given point, you don't care who sees you. You don't think about any of that kind of stuff. Any privacy or anything like that, you don't think about. It goes out the window because, if there's so much going on, that's the last thing on your mind. So I started doing practice pushing, and the nurse, it was about 9:30 or something like that, and the nurse was like, oh my gosh, you're such a great pusher. We're not, people usually push between an hour and 4 hours, first time moms, because they don't know how to push. But let me call the doctor though, because you're gonna have this baby. So I'm pushing. 2 of my sisters have one of my legs. Kenny's grandma, my mom, his mom, and Kenny have my other leg. No, his mom and grandma have my back to help me lean up and push. Mind you, I can't feel my legs. They said I had about 20 minutes left of the epidural since I didn't get another dosage of it. So, with that being said, I had 20 minutes of numbness left. So I started pushing. I was pushing. They kept saying, push as if you're constipated or if you have to take a boo-boo, like if you have to have a bowel movement. So I was pushing. It was the hardest thing ever to get her head right there, to get her head out. That was the hardest part of my whole labor delivery. The hardest part was getting her head out. I had a mirror sitting right in front of me, and I saw her head. Like, I saw her hair. I can't explain it, but I saw her head and her hair. And when I saw that, it just motivated me to push, because she's right there. So I pushed, and her head was right there. It was coming out, and then I saw it. Her head popped out. And once her head came out, it was like one more push, and her whole body came out. The hardest part was her head, and her whole body came out after that. And they put her on top of me. She was blue, and she wasn't crying. So I was really, really, really scared. Started crying. I was crying because she was out, and then I started panicking because She wasn't crying and she was blue. I started saying, why isn't she crying? So they told Kenny to hurry up and cut the cord. They took her over to the little station and, cleaned her up and did whatever they did, and she opened her eyes and then she started crying. That first cry is something I'll never, ever, ever forget. It was such a sigh of relief and it was such a beautiful thing. I'll never, ever forget it. I was so happy, and they brought her over to me, and I was just bawling because here it is, this little thing that started off as a cell, a sex cell, a full-grown baby is in my hands, and I waited so long to meet her, and it's just, you guys, it's the most amazing, amazing feeling in the world. I just couldn't believe it. I was just overwhelmed with tears, and even to this day, like, I can't believe she's here, and I have a daughter, and I'm holding her, and she's not in my stomach kicking me. But she weighed 7 pounds 7 ounces, born July the 7th, born in room 7. There were 7 people in the room at the time of delivery, and she was born at 10:49. So all those 7s is the perfect number. So she's a special baby. 7, 7, 7, 11 in room 7, and 7 people. It's hard to believe, but it's the most amazing thing ever. So after I pushed her out, they still had to deliver the placenta and stuff like that. Once that came out, that kind of hurt it when it came out a little bit. It was just like pushing another baby out, but smaller. So once that came out, I was trying really hard to see it, but I couldn't really see it because it was like empty, like disinflated. I don't know why I was expecting this big old sack to come out, but yeah, I didn't really get a chance to see it. I didn't tear parentally, like the long way from front to back. I tore on the inside and it was literally like this big. She gave me a couple of stitches because so that I'll recover better, like it wouldn't burn when I pee, or I wouldn't have a hard time using the restroom. And I'm so grateful she did that because I don't have any trouble at all whatsoever. I'm gonna do a 1-week update right after I do this, so I'll get into details of how I felt after physically and how she's doing and things like that. But that's my labor and delivery story. We stayed at the hospital 2 days. I could have had her and then went home the next day, but I was having a hard time learning how to breastfeed and her latching on and me doing it the right way, so I stayed an extra day. So I had her Thursday and we went home on Saturday. Yep, that's it though. That's my labor and delivery story. Thank you guys so much for following me on this journey. I really do want to do weekly updates on her, but I see it is really, really hard to find time to do it. But I promise it's not the last you see of me. Matter of fact, I'm going to make a 1-week postpartum video right now. And hopefully I'll be able to keep up with it every week. I'm still watching for you girls who are still pregnant and seeing updates of the group of girls that were due around the same time as me. We're mommies now, you guys. It's the craziest thing ever. It's like we went on this amazing journey together. Like starting out from, like, I go to some of your videos from when we're like 12, 13, 14, 15 weeks pregnant to now and actually having our babies in our hands. Like, it's crazy. Like, wouldn't you guys agree? It's so crazy. But that's it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the 1-week postpartum video. I'm not really sure what you talk about, so if my video is a little short and a little shallow, forgive me. But thank you guys so much for following this journey with me. You guys are so amazing. I love all the comments you guys send me. The YouTube community is so uplifting. You have those few people who like to send out negativity and negative things, but for the most part my experience has been amazing, which is why I'm deciding to continue to do videos after my pregnancy and my journey with weight loss and things like that. But yeah, so stay tuned, you guys. Bye.